Hello everyone, and welcome back to our weekly series of Is the Shrine Worth It? The series where we have a look at the Shrine of Secrets and see if the perks inside it are really worth your 2,000 iridescent shards each. Unfortunately this week we have a very mid shrine once again. I'm going to give this shrine a 4 out of 10, as the perks in it are actually quite strong and there is a licensed one, so it's not all bad. We have perks from Claudette, the Artist, the Singularity and Ada. Those perks are Empathy, Hex Pentimento, Machine Learning and Reactive Healing. Let's get into the survivor perks first. Our first survivor perk is Empathy. Injured survivors are revealed to you when you're within 128 meters of range. This is what it looks like in game. I'm going to give Empathy a 7 out of 10 in terms of its strength. I actually think it's a pretty underrated perk. There is pretty much no way you're not going to see someone who's injured if you're running Empathy. In a way this is similar to Bond. It lets you see where all of the survivors are who are injured. If you're in a chase, it lets you get away from them. If they need a heal, it lets you see where they are. So it is actually a really strong information perk. Unfortunately, Claudette is part of the base game, so in no way, shape or form should you ever try and go for any of her perks in the Shrine of Secrets. It's a complete waste of your shards. Instead, just level her up with your blood points and you get all 3 of her perks. They're all pretty good. Our second survivor perk is Reactive Healing. When another survivor loses a health state within 32 meters of radius around you while you are injured, instantly increase your healing progress to 50% of the missing healing progression. This is what it looks like in game. I'm going to give this like a 5 out of 10. It's quite niche and it requires you to be in a very specific scenario for it to get any value. It is a bit of a oh crap we're in a really bad situation kind of perk, which can be really helpful. But if you're someone who's healthy most of the game, or you rarely get hit, or you try and get yourself not injured most of the time, you won't really get much value out of this. And you've got to be relatively close to someone to get that healing percentage back. To me, this screams kind of like a comp type perk where you're playing this in a very competitive way. So personally, I wouldn't use it. Whether you think this is strong or not, Ada Wong is a licensed character, and this is the only licensed perk in the whole shrine, so it is the only one that I will 100% say is worth picking up with your shards. Go ahead and get it. Let's move on to the killer perks. Our first killer perk is Machine Learning. When you damage a generator, it becomes compromised. Only one generator can be compromised at a time. When the compromised generator is completed, you gain undetectable and 8% haste for 60 seconds. This is what it looks like in game. I'm going to give this perk an 8 out of 10. I actually think it's a very strong perk. All you need to do is kick a gen and you get 8% speed, which is huge, and undetectable for 60 seconds. On certain killers, that can be incredibly strong. A tier 3 Michael Myers or a Huntress with crazy good hatchets. This is a really strong perk, and I actually think that it can go in a lot of builds and doesn't necessarily need anything to accompany it. Unfortunately, the Singularity is not licensed. However, he is relatively new, so he's going to be a bit more expensive than the average killer. I would say if you really want to pick this perk up, you can pick it up in the shrine and you're not losing a huge amount of value. Over time, he will get cheaper, so if you've got the patience, I would just wait, or you can just use more of your shards, buy him in full, you get a full killer, and you get all 3 of his perks. Generally, I would stay away from this in the shrine. Our fourth and final perk is Hex Pentimento. While a totem is rekindled, survivor heal and repair 20% slower, 3% for each additional rekindled totem. If all 5 totems are rekindled simultaneously, all totems are permanently blocked by the entity. Survivors cursed by this perk see the auras of rekindled totems within 16 meters. This is what it looks like in game. I'm going to give Pentimento a 7 out of 10. This can be an extremely strong perk, but it's very, very hard and very niche to get it to the point where you're blocking all 5 totems that are rekindled simultaneously. You're basically gonna win the game if you can get it to that point, which is why I'm giving it quite a high rating. However, it's incredibly hard to get to that point. This obviously is going to fit into a hex build, so you're baiting all of the survivors to cleanse all the hex totems you possibly can. Whether you think this is strong or whether you think it's weak, it is from the artist who is not licensed, and at this point she is a relatively old killer. I would say it's way more valuable to go and pick her up as a full character, level her up, and then you get all 3 of her perks instead. She can be picked up with shards, so I would go and do that. So to recap, this week is a very disappointing one, but the only perk that we want to try and pick up is reactive healing. The perks that we want to stay away from are empathy, pentimento, and machine learning. However, if you really want to, you can pick up machine learning as it is quite strong and it's relatively new. Thank you for watching the video this week. I will see you next week for hopefully at least one good shrine in the last month. That'd be great. Bye!